we get this DNA, millions of lives are saved.
There's a story running through the world half of the Jurassic franchise that involves greedy corporations squeezing the last pennies out of that precious dino DNA. InGen or Biosyn or a pharmaceutical company, everybody is lining up for one more crack at cashing in off John Hammond's original spark of brilliance. Unfortunately, the new Jurassic World Rebirth is an example of art imitating life. All these years after the creative and commercial jackpot of 1993's Jurassic Park, Universal tries to make good on a massive investment in dinosaurs one last time with a movie about a company trying to make good on a massive investment in dinosaurs one last time. But instead of a rebirth for the franchise, they've ended up with just another lost world. I'm Clint Gage, and this is my review of Jurassic World Rebirth. Now, a couple things before I dive back into disliking this movie. Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali could read the phone book to each other while wearing beige sweaters on a cloudy day, and I'd be on board. They're more often than not the most interesting things on screen in whatever movie they happen to be in, and that's true for Jurassic World Rebirth as well. As covert operations specialist Zora Bennett and her trusted mercenary colleague Duncan Kincaid, Johansson and Ali are at their usual best here. And Rebirth starts strongly enough as well. The promise of dropping Gareth Edwards into the Jurassic world seems like it's paying off in the opening sequences. The only director who's ever worked with both Godzilla and a Death Star, Edwards knows how to create real terror with scale on screen. It's one of my favorite parts about the creator as well. And there's a great horror, almost B-movie vibe in the beginning of Jurassic World Rebirth that I'm really into. When the iconic Jurassic Park logo appears on screen, it's accompanied by a score that would be right at home in a classic Universal monster movie. There's no majesty to it, none of that trademark John Williams flavor of wonder. It's all creepy creature feature vibes on the soundtrack, and I actually loved it because it is a new flavor for the franchise.
This island was the research facility for the original Jurassic Park.
Now, there is a boldness to the move of subtitling the 6th Jurassic Park sequel Rebirth. It's kind of a promise that says we're in store for something different, and based on these opening moments, Edwards is coming at this movie with a legitimately new energy that lasts past the cold open. In an early scene where Rupert Friend's shady corporate executive hires Johansson's covert ops expert to take part in his shadiness, the exposition is set against action in the background that very quickly establishes the dynamic between dinosaurs and humans post-Jurassic World Dominion. It's the kind of efficiency in storytelling that I really like, and there's a funny bit of it right out of the gate in Rebirth. So, everything is heading in the right direction, and then it starts heading in the same old direction.
Don't see that every day, or ever.
There's another as yet unheard of island where InGen did its dirtiest work, and a group of heroes, villains, and other assorted dino chow find themselves in a fight to survive. It's the same thing the franchise has done with varying degrees of success and, I would argue, pretty consistent degrees of failure since The Lost World. Now, Edwards may have made Rogue One, but Jurassic World Rebirth follows the playbook of a different Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens, which is, not for nothing, also in Episode 7. Rebirth is one-to-one to the original Jurassic Park, but there's a problem this movie can't solve. Jurassic Park was a simple machine. For all its big ideas and complexities, it's about easy-to-like people trying to not get eaten and wondering if maybe you shouldn't play God. The franchise has also since layered more and more on top of that relative straightforwardness almost every time out, to the point that there's just too much to deal with in Rebirth. It's a bit of the should we do this with a dash of corporate greed, a pinch of coexisting with dinosaurs, with a gene sequence gap filled in by questions about to whom scientific discovery actually belongs, while every character with a speaking role gets a hyper-specific emotional journey to go on that also has to get paid off. There's so much on the table that I really couldn't find myself able to care about any of it.
Maybe we should make it quick.
Now, Rebirth also puts me in mind of almost, well, every other major franchise. All these legacy sequels and nostalgia reboots make it, I believe, totally fair game to compare these kinds of things. But Jurassic Park as a franchise can join the Terminator, Predator, and Alien as these franchises that frankly probably should have stopped after the first couple movies. Predator, I think, has righted the ship. Alien is trying, but man, all those franchises have such a low batting average, but they never go away. And there was actually a single moment I knew Rebirth didn't quite have the same thing working for it as Jurassic Park. It's one you can see in the trailers where Zora and Jonathan Bailey's Dr. Loomis run into a herd of titanosaurs. It's a wide green valley. The characters are awed by what they see. It's clearly meant to evoke the moment when Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler, and by extension the audience, get their first real look at the brachiosaur in Jurassic Park. The scene in Rebirth is structured exactly the same, down to the cutaway to a wide shot of the valley, revealing the whole herd. Only in Rebirth, it's a wide aerial angle, not from anybody's perspective. It's completely disconnected from the characters. It's not the view that Zora's enjoying in the scene like it was for Dr. Grant in the original. It's nobody's view. Just a massive and frankly soulless shot of a valley full of dinosaurs. Now, it might seem small and myopic of me to be stressed out about a single shot, but I believe these are the moments that have a real impact on how a movie lands on you. Whether you realize it or not, shots like this make the difference between the movies you remember and the ones you're already forgetting by the time the credits roll. If you want to buy into characters feeling awe, you need to be in their shoes, seeing what they're seeing. It's an insistence on just remixing the original that really keeps this Jurassic movie from evolving into something new for the franchise. And that brings me to the Delgado family. This is, like the main cast of the film, a group of actors doing really good work. Manuel Garcia Rulfo is great as a dad crossing the Atlantic with his daughters. He's capable, smart, empathetic, and relatable, as is his older daughter played by Luna Blaze. There's a familiarity to the dynamics of this family. The issues they're dealing with, we've all seen them before, but they're all charismatic enough that I enjoyed spending time with them. The bad news is, there is no good reason for them to be there. The good news, though, is that superfluous is one of my favorite words. There's an argument to be made that this family arriving by chance is actually the best way to get kids involved in a death by dinosaur adventure, and maybe it is, but that's not even my issue with it. If this had been a monster movie about a group of mercenaries sent to recover DNA from a dinosaur-filled island, hell yeah, I'm into that. On the other hand, if this were a monster movie about a family marooned on one of InGen's old islands, forced to survive on the strength of their wits with no weapons or designs on profiting off of dinosaurs, I'm into that too. Instead, there's just a family there completely by accident who's doing their own thing the whole movie.
You guys ever wish you had a boring dad?
We do.
The way they cross over with Scarlett Johansson and her side of the cast is mostly incidental, and the themes they represent don't really have anything to offer to Rebirth as a whole. If they weren't there at all, it really wouldn't have mattered. For example, maybe one character lost a child and so they're extra determined to get these kids safely off the island. If the Delgados weren't there, that character would just have to rely on not getting eaten for motivation, which, frankly, in a monster movie, no big loss. But I've gotten this far into the review without focusing much on the main attractions, the dinosaurs. The insanely mutated genetic cocktail that gets loose in the opening sequence looms over much of Rebirth. Edwards and writer David Koepp keep its threat off screen for the most part, in a very Spielbergian show of restraint. And this is, as I said before, the basket in which I was keeping all my ostrich eggs and amphibian DNA, a Gareth Edwards sense of scale. But where Rebirth's marquee mega mutant, half kaiju, half rancor monstrosity is concerned, its scale feels off. It seems bigger in some scenes than others, and I felt like it might be changing size and shape to suit whatever particular flavor of terror it needs to inflict in any given moment. In fact, is it weird to anybody else that every Jurassic movie that followed 1993's Jurassic Park has looked progressively a little worse, a little less believable? There's nothing that can top that original movie's blend of practical animatronics and CGI. I think Rebirth continues that trend. There's nothing particularly ingenious about the look of this movie, and I find myself like a near-future dinosaur exhibit patron thinking, yeah, I've seen this before, what else you got? Now, to be fair, some of those terrifying moments with the marquee monster are pretty cool. This monster does have a personality, and honestly, I would have liked to have seen more of it. To get back to the theoretical, simpler rebirths that could have been, this bizarre genetic hybrid abomination could have carried that B-movie energy of the intro if he had his sights trained on either the team of mercenaries and their shady employer, or the family trying to understand each other a little better. Instead, he's just there until he's not, and he's just kind of not there until he's back again. Now, none of this is to say that I'm docking this movie points because it wasn't the movie I would have rather watched, by the way. I only want to illustrate Jurassic Park Rebirth's general sort of lack of follow-through. For a movie that's hinting at a fresh start from its title on down, Rebirth plays it frustratingly safe. They were bound to be more cinematic mosquitoes they could have pulled other DNA from to make something a little different.
The worst of the worst, we're left here.
That is the story of the 4 Jurassic World movies. Rebirth is, when it comes down to it, just more teeth. The mostly cheesy line from Jurassic World poking fun at the absurdity of daring to ask, how do we make bringing dinosaurs back to life interesting again? What Jurassic World was trying to make fun of, Rebirth ultimately kind of became. It's a very okay, very middling movie with nothing egregiously wrong about it aside from the fact that it ignores one of the franchise's most iconic lines. Universal seems, in the words of Dr. Ian Malcolm,
yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
And who knows how the development worked on this movie? I'm convinced that Colin Trevorrow got hired to make the first Jurassic World with a pitch that said, I want to make a comedy. Then he got halfway through making it and Universal was like, oh, yeah, cool, but you do need to make this more like Jurassic Park, so start treating it with a lot more weight. Now, this movie feels like a similar thing might have happened to Gareth Edwards, where initially the idea was to keep some of that B-movie, kaiju-centric flair throughout, but along the way, the powers that be pulled it back towards the one-to-one sort of remixing of the original Jurassic Park. It's important to note, I have 0 to back that up with, by the way. Let me be clear about that. But looking at the movie and how and where its most creative bits shine, it's hard not to believe something like that happened.
Survival is a long shot.
That's kind of our specialty.
Jurassic World Rebirth is getting a 5. Mediocre feels like the right way to describe what happens with this movie. There's nothing officially wrong with it. There's just a disappointing amount of same old thing to it. Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and the rest of the cast are intriguing and sympathetic throughout, but Gareth Edwards doesn't quite recapture his signature flair for grand-scale visuals, nor does David Koepp find the magic of his original Jurassic Park screenplay, opting to follow that movie's structure as more of a remix than a rebirth.
We put ourselves in a place we don't belong.
That is what I thought of Jurassic World Rebirth. No one is more upset about that 5 than I am, I promise. Jurassic Park was the last movie I saw in theaters like a dozen times back when you still did that sort of thing. But let me know which Jurassic is your favorite in the comments, and for more old bugs trapped in amber, be sure to subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.